Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today is the 9th of March 2021. Right, everyone, let's get into the news. So first up, we have the Berlin network upgrade kind of blog post from the Ethereum Foundation here. So for those who don't know, the Berlin network upgrade is going live next month. The testnets are going live this month. As you can see here, there's a bunch of dates with block numbers. So the first testnet's actually going live tomorrow on Ropsten, then Goerli, then Rinkeby, and then of course mainnet on the 14th of April, if everything goes well. So if you're running a node on the testnets, you should definitely upgrade your nodes. And also for mainnet, you should upgrade your nodes by this date, by the 14th of April 2021. All the downloads are here. If you're running Go Ethereum, if you're running Open Ethereum, Nethermind, or Besu, you can go here and download them. This is exciting. I mean, this blog post tells you everything, right? It tells you what EIPs are coming in Berlin, and just a note, it doesn't include EIP 1559. That's coming in London in July, so just another few months out there. But most of these upgrades are basically for, I guess, like lower level stuff and not things that kind of will affect the end user mostly. So yeah, not too much to worry about there if you're just like a normal user. But if you are running a node, be sure to upgrade. And if you're not running a node, run one. I'm always going to kind of like remind people of that. I think it's very important for the decentralization of the network, and it's not too hard to run one. There's plenty of guides out there. So yeah, definitely do that if you haven't already. So a quick shout out here. The Ethereum Foundation is looking for looking for a front end developer for Ethereum.org. You can see the website here and see the basically what the role entails and everything like that, and what the required skills are and things like that. And if you fall into that bucket, definitely apply. I think working on the Ethereum.org website is a pretty fulfilling job at this point. I mean, all of us OGs will remember how, kind of bad the Ethereum.org website was for a long time. It was very outdated, right? It was like basically what it was like when Ethereum was kind of like ICO'd back in 2014. And it basically had, marketing copy on there saying, Ethereum's a world computer and all this sort of stuff, and didn't really have anything about DeFi or NFTs or anything like that. Now the website actually has so much more. And I mean, it has all these really, really awesome graphics as well, which just liven up the website too. Like, they've done an awesome job here. And, it's not just for looks either. You can go to like the different sections. So like, learn Ethereum, and they've got like a whole NFT section that they just pushed live. What are non-fungible tokens, kind of resources around them and everything like that. I mean, these pages are full of information. Like, look at that, right? I definitely recommend going and check it out yourself. They've got everything here. History of Ethereum, like all these sorts of things. It's pretty crazy how much is, changed here, and how different this website is compared to what it was just like, even I think, maybe a year, 2 years kind of ago now at this point. It's just like changed completely. So kudos here. And, I'm sure that if you're a front-end developer, working on this is going to be a pretty fulfilling role. So definitely apply for that if you haven't yet. And definitely go check out this website if you haven't. I mean, there's plenty of really cool information here. You can find all these graphics and stuff. I just love these graphics. I mean, the Ethereum kind of, I guess, like, art ecosystem, like using the Ethereum logo in art and using all the different kind of things like Doge and stuff like that. You can see here on the left, Doge, like that sort of stuff is just what Ethereum's all about, right? It's just this really cool kind of like, futuristic kind of looking things like you can see on the left here. I mean, I just love it, right? I'm not going to gush too much here, but I really do like the design of this website. So go check it out if you haven't already. So Coindesk posted this article here, basically saying that ETC Group is listing an Ethereum exchange traded product on the Deutsche Börse Extra. Wow, that is really hard to say. Market on Tuesday. Basically, they're launching an exchange traded product for ETH, and I think this is similar to an ETF in the US, except like in Europe they're called ETPs. And what's funny about this threw me off. ETC Group, right? Like, I thought this was like Ethereum Classic Group or something, but no, it's just like the same acronym here. And basically, this ETP will track obviously the price of ETH and trade under the ticker ZETH or ZETH, I guess you could call it. And this basically gives institutional investors the kind of access to ETH as well, which is really, really promising. And yeah, I mean, the fact that this is launching, in such a big way on, I guess, like this market here, which I assume, I mean, obviously it's based in Germany, which I assume is a pretty big market. You can see here that the Bitcoin product they launched back in, I think they launched it in June last year, got over $1 billion in assets under management since then, which is quite a lot, I think, for a product like this. But nothing compared to, I guess, what an ETF in the US would do. But it's stepping stones, right? I mean, I fully expect to see an ETH ETF. Shortly after we get a Bitcoin ETF. I've mentioned that before, but we don't know when we're going to get a Bitcoin ETF at this point. It feels long overdue, but I think it's coming. If it doesn't come this year, I would say it's going to 100% come next year, but I'd be very surprised if it doesn't come this year because there's so much institutional interest in kind of like Bitcoin specifically right now, and they're just finding other ways to buy it. I mean, you have like the Grayscale products, you have ETFs in Canada, you also have like, Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy doing these convertible note things where people can just like kind of invest in that and then get exposure to Bitcoin that way. So an ETF would just streamline this whole process and make it much simpler for investors. So I fully expect a Bitcoin ETF to, there's a high chance it goes live this year, 100% chance I reckon next year. But also on top of that, I think an ETH ETF would follow shortly after. And I'd go as far as to say just a few months after, which is, really, really exciting. So I'm going to keep an eye out for that. But this ETP is also pretty exciting as well. So definitely go check this out. The links in the YouTube description, like always. So Grayscale posted their, I guess, valuing Ethereum report today. It's behind like an email wall, I guess you could call it. You have to kind of like enter your details here to get access to the report if you click here. I haven't actually checked if this is the same or similar to the reports they've put out in the past. But what I find really interesting is that Grayscale is just putting out these reports in general, right? Because as I mentioned, Grayscale is like a vehicle for institutional investors to get exposure to ETH. And this is where, they've got like an email list that they send this kind of report to. And that's kind of like, the people that it's reaching. So, all of us on crypto Twitter and in the Ethereum ecosystem, we have an understanding of what makes ETH valuable and how to value it and, why we want to hold it and stuff like that. But a lot of institutional investors and newer investors have no idea. They don't know about the triple point asset thesis for ETH. They don't know about the value accrual narratives for ETH, like staking, fee burn, use as collateral, right? They don't know that, how much ETH is being used within the Ethereum economy for just, DeFi and NFTs and stuff like that. So this report, at least their last report, mentioned those things and talked about those things, which I assume this new report does as well. So kudos to Grayscale for putting this out there. We definitely need more education around ETH as an asset. On Twitter, like it's good to educate people, but you reach a different crowd, right? I'm not reaching any, really, I'm probably not reaching hardly any institutional investors through my, tweets or whatever. And even if I do tweet about something, they may not have the context around it. They may not see the value in it or understand it as well. So having a report they can access from a trusted brand like Grayscale is very important, I think. So Hasu is someone who is a crypto researcher. Basically, you've probably heard of him before. He's very popular on crypto Twitter. But he's been one of the researchers, I guess you could call them outside of like the core Ethereum community that has done a lot of work for EIP 1559. Hasu tends to be like, I guess, a middle ground Bitcoiner and Ethereum. He's not like, someone who spends all his time in Ethereum, but that doesn't matter. He's done some phenomenal work on EIP 1559. And like you can see here, like he's basically put them all into like a resource list here, where there's like a table of contents and everything where you can go through and just get completely up to speed about what EIP 1559 is. Will it lower gas fees? At TLDR, it won't. It's not designed for that. Is it good for ETH? Why does the base fee have to be burned? All this sort of stuff. You can go read this for yourself. I read it just before. It's an absolutely excellent resource. And something you should definitely go check out if you're interested in learning more about how 1559 works, why people are so excited about it, right? Why it's good for ETH and stuff like that. Because I think, most people, or at least everyone probably at this stage, understands that 1559 is going to burn ETH. But as I've explained on the refuels before, there are so many other benefits that come with it that no one's really talking about because they're not as flashy. But I actually think that the benefit of, as I spoke about yesterday, the benefit that I'm most excited about with 1559, besides the fee burning, is the fact that you'll be able to just do a transaction and you'll have like 95% plus certainty that it's going to get into the next block. So only 5% of the time will it actually not get into kind of the next block. And I was doing some transactions just before and I was getting like super annoyed because I'm sure you've all done this, right? You send a transaction with a fee and then like the fees get ahead of you and then you have to like click on MetaMask, that speed up button, and reissue it with a higher fee to get your transaction in the next block. And what this does is, one, it's like super annoying for end users. 2, it means that you're overpaying for transactions, right? And 3, it's just like really crappy I guess like estimations for network-wide estimations of gas fees. So that's what I'm actually most excited about for 1559. I'm actually more excited about that than I am for fee burning, because we have sorely needed this UX kind of like improvement for a long time now, and I'm glad that it's coming with 1559. And obviously the other benefits I've spoken about before, like an on-chain gas oracle, which is especially important for layer 2 kind of systems needing to get their transactions into the next block and be predictable. It also helps with a bit of MEV stuff as well, and things like that. So yeah, and it also helps to align incentives with the fee burn, of course, and like make ETH potentially deflationary one day, which I think is really cool as well. So yeah, if you want to learn more about that and jump into more detail, definitely go check this out. It'll be linked in the YouTube description, as always. So speaking of 1559 and how it compares to like other networks, Swagtimus Prime here put out a tweet, and he says, EIP 1559 is going to make a ton of people question Bitcoin's narrative as hard money. ETH is a triple point asset by then, relying on more than just a hard cap. We have utility, we have staking, we have network effects, we have dApps, we have DeFi, we have NFTs. And I mean, and the tweet there. I think this is something that we really should be talking more about and thinking more about, right? Because Bitcoin's narrative of having like a hard cap is incredibly strong, right? A 21 million cap and halving every 4 years is basically what gives Bitcoin like such a strong narrative, why people kind of buy it, because like that certainty that it's going to be scarce, right? And why people value it so highly, right? Or at least one of the major reasons anyway. Now, I don't think that the hard cap model especially for proof of work networks actually works long term, because, and I've spoken about this a fair few times in the past, but basically when you have a proof of work network where you need to pay miners exorbitant amounts of money to make it worth their while to mine, because they're burning a lot of electricity, they have expensive kind of machines taking up, and like these machines break all the time, they have to replace them, there's maintenance costs, there's all this sort of stuff, right? So the long-term security plan for Bitcoin, for example, for a proof of work network or a capped supply proof of work network is basically to make the supply go to zero eventually, and then just rely on transaction fees to secure the network. Now, you've already seen that Ethereum is way ahead of Bitcoin in transaction fee volume, for one, right? It's actually, I would say it's actually eating into Bitcoin's transactional volume, because there's Bitcoin on Ethereum as well. So any Bitcoin that's on Ethereum does not add any security to Bitcoin on the Bitcoin network. So there's that kind of aspect to it, right? And there's no fee burning or anything, right, in Bitcoin, because you can't have that with a capped supply, because the fees have to go to miners to secure the network. So long term, you could get to a point where the fees are not going to be anywhere near enough to pay for the fact that the block subsidy is gone and you need to pay miners to secure the network. Whereas with Ethereum, we have this kind of like beautiful symbiotic relationship forming here, which I've written about in the Daily Gwei, one of my first pieces that I did. And basically what I mean by this is that in ETH2, we're going to have perpetual issuance. We're not going to have a hard cap on how much ETH is issued, right? Most of the time, or at least like pretty much all the time, the amount of ETH issued per year should be well under 1%, right? Total across the whole network. So we're going to have that, right? And that's going to pay stakers in perpetuity for validating blocks and for securing the network, right? So we don't have to rely on fees for that. But as a bonus, right, and this is how we get to something that Justin Drake likes to call ultrasound money. As a bonus, we can get to a point, potentially one day, where so many fees are being burned on the Ethereum network that the Ethereum supply, even with the perpetual issuance of, let's say it's even 1%, right, each year, we can get that down to negative issuance, right? Negative, basically net deflationary, because we could potentially be burning more fees than ETH is issued each year. That, to me, is the perfect design for securing a network, right? And this could also work in proof of work. It doesn't have to just be proof of stake. Now, proof of stake has a number of other benefits, that I won't talk about now. Higher level benefits like, basically, I believe it provides more security, right? It obviously doesn't use anywhere near as much energy as proof of work. It probably uses 0.01% of the energy that proof of work uses. Obviously it's not energy intensive because you don't have to do that proof of work. You just put your assets up as a stake instead. And then you have this kind of symbiotic relationship where the fees are being burned, the stakers are full because they still have their feed from the block subsidy, from the perpetual issuance, and they also have some fees as well, right? The tip in EIP 1559 will still go to stakers and miners for the time being. And that, to me, is the best design. I do not think Bitcoin long term, if it will survive in its current kind of regime, where the supply halves every 4 years and it gets so low where the fees have to make up for that. I don't think that's going to happen. And I've even seen, I guess you could call them hardcore Bitcoiners, but not really Bitcoin maximalists, even talk about this. I mean, Hasu has talked about this, where it's a real legitimate worry. It is not just concern trolling, right? It is a legitimate worry that this could happen. And the only way to actually alleviate this would be to remove the hard cap from Bitcoin. The only, I guess you could say realistic way. There's a few other ideas out there of how to do this, but really the easiest and most realistic way is just to have perpetual issuance, right? But at that point, if you were to remove the Bitcoin hard cap, you basically remove pretty much the main thing that makes Bitcoin valuable to most people. And it's not so much the hard cap as well that makes it valuable, it's the certainty of the monetary supply, right? Bitcoiners believe that it was set from day one. It's never going to be changed, and if it ever does change, that breaks Bitcoin, and it's basically trash, right? And if they believe that, well, then they're never going to change it. And if I foresee more fork wars in the future, where a large part of the network basically says, well, the network's insecure. We need to basically fork to remove the hard cap and to put perpetual issuance in. And you can imagine the amount of fighting that would go on with that. You can imagine like how ugly that would be. And I don't know. I just feel like that would be the end of Bitcoin if they remove the cap. Like, I just do not see the appeal of Bitcoin in that scenario to something like ETH. And that's not to say that I think Ethereum is the best thing ever, but I do think this kind of like perpetual issuance with fee burning is better, with proof of stake, is much better than like a hard capped proof of work asset that has to rely on transaction fees to secure itself, when all you can do on the Bitcoin network is move Bitcoin around, mind you, right? You can't do anything else. There's no dApps, there's no DeFi, there's no NFTs. So that's why Ethereum has more transaction fees, because there's more to do. There's more utility. We have all the utility. So that's my bearish case for Bitcoin in a nutshell, essentially. I don't hold Bitcoin, not because of that, but because I think I can outperform it with other assets. Like, that's just my personal investment strategy. But if I had to give like a long-term bear cases for Bitcoin, that would be it, right? And my long-term bull cases for Ethereum really does fall into this beautiful kind of monetary policy that we're going to be forming once we merge into ETH2. And get rid of proof of work, get rid of miners and everything like that. So yeah, I know I've gone on a little bit there, but I think it's very important to realize just why so many people are excited about moving to proof of stake and getting EIP 1559 in. It fulfills this vision that many in the Ethereum community have had for years now of this beautiful symbiotic monetary policy where all the stakeholders are paid, their dues, like ETH holders are paid through 1559, and if they're stakers, they're also paid through the block subsidy, right? And what I mean by paid by 1559 is that, ETH gets burnt, and the kind of like value of that flows to ETH holders over a long enough time frame and things like that. So yeah, something to keep in mind there. And thank you to Swagnimus Prime here for tweeting this out. It really got my brain kind of like buzzing there. But yeah, very, very interesting times ahead, I think. So apparently Taco Bell is now doing NFTs. And I said here on Twitter, I didn't have Taco Bell doing NFTs as part of my bull case for Ethereum, but I'll take it. I mean, this is pretty crazy because I was talking about how mainstream NFTs are becoming, right? I've been talking about that for a while now, but like, it is truly mainstream. Like Taco Bell doing an NFT. I mean, for those who don't know, Taco Bell is like a fast food chain in the US, and I think in other places as well. But it's pretty big, right? It's not like some small little company that's doing this. This is a pretty big deal here. And they're probably just doing it for, I guess, like marketing, right? Probably like 100% they're just doing it for marketing. And it worked because I tweeted about them. I mean, I would never have tweeted about Taco Bell otherwise, right? But there it is on my feed. But, it's still funny because like this just, Taco Bell has what, 1.9 million kind of like followers here. How much attention did their tweet get? I mean, look at the engagement on this tweet, right? Like, they're exposing so many people to both Rarible as a platform, NFTs as an idea, Ethereum, right? ETH the asset. Like, this is just like, I guess you could call it symbiotic marketing where, Taco Bell's getting attention out of this, but we're also getting attention out of it as an Ethereum kind of community and as an ecosystem. So yeah, I don't think this is the last we've seen of these companies kind of like doing NFTs. I think it's something that, is really accessible as well, right? It touches so many different things and so many people can get involved. It's not like DeFi where I don't even know what Taco Bell would do for DeFi, right? What would they do? Issue like a token and put it on Uniswap or like a Taco token? I don't know. What is this, DeFi summer again, right? I can't even think of what they do. But, them doing an NFT kind of makes sense. I think they just basically did like a GIF of like some kind of tacos hitting each other here, which I thought was pretty funny. So, if it works, it works. It's just really interesting to see this from Taco Bell. So on the Rarible note as well, Alex Salnikov, one of the co-founders of Rarible, tweeted out this index that has been created by someone on using SEP protocols infrastructure here called the NFTI index. So if it loads up here on token sets, I can show you exactly what it is and what it consists of. So it's called the NFT index. It's got a bunch of different NFT tokens in here. So it's got Rari, Sand, Matic, Eng, Mana, AXS, Meme, and GHST or Ghost. It's funny that Matic's in here because, disclosure here, I'm an advisor to Matic/Polygon. But I found it funny because, Matic's not an NFT token when you really kind of think about it, right? I think the reason Matic's in here is because it's actually basically being used as a scalability solution for many NFT projects. So it kind of makes sense, right? As like a NFT infrastructure play, which, it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. And these other ones here are obviously all NFT tokens. So, that makes sense as well. And, this index is not something small either. It's got a $735,000 market cap so far as well, which is pretty cool to see. The fact that it's built on SET protocol is also really cool. Obviously, I'm an advisor to SET, so really cool to see people using the infrastructure here. And it was cool to see Alex kind of promoting it here as well. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely go check it out. It'll be in the YouTube description below. So Chainlink God posted a thread, a pretty lengthy thread actually here, on the kind of new link vault on Yearn Finance. So what this vault does is it basically generates, it's generating 70% APY right now. There is zero impermanent loss risk. It helps to lower slippage of large link trades, uses Chainlink oracles, of course, through synthetics, and it's basically a DeFi composability sandwich. Now, I won't read the whole thread out, but I'll give you a TLDR of what it is. Basically, on Curve, there's a pool, Link and sLink, so it's a synthetic link. Now, by putting those assets in this pool, what ends up happening is you can trade between them, and it becomes like a very efficient way to trade Link for other tokens. You know how I've talked about cross-asset swaps before, where you could go from a Curve asset to synthetic asset back to Curve, and you could have like a ultra low kind of like, potentially like, I guess, not zero slippage, but like ultra low slippage trade of like millions of dollars in size. So that's what this does for Link, which I thought was really, really cool. And this isn't just limited to Link. Pretty much any asset that has a synthetic asset can be put into like the same kind of pool and then routed through this cross-asset swap infrastructure. Definitely go give this thread a read from Chainlink God. He explains it in very much detail here, as you can see, and how like the CRV token plays into it. There's so much going on here. Like this is like pretty advanced DeFi stuff. This is not something that a noob's gonna do, and it doesn't actually appeal to noobs or retail traders anyway. It's more for those bigger trades, as I mentioned, but it's still an incredibly important building block for DeFi because a lot of the liquidity providers and a lot of the, I guess, arbitrage bots and traders that provide all this liquidity on chain are these big players, and they need ways to get in and out of things with low slippage. So this is a really great building block here, but the thread will be linked in the description. You can go check that out. So a bit of drama today. So ArtStation.com announced that they were going to be doing a, I guess, pilot for NFTs on their platform. And ArtStation is a very, very popular kind of platform to showcase your art and design. But they got a lot of backlash on that because there's this narrative going around right now about NFTs contributing to climate change, right? Because of proof of work. And to be fair, the proof of work on the Ethereum network Ethereum is still proof of work, right? It's not like we can say, yeah, Ethereum is proof of work right now, but we're moving to proof of stake. You just wait, right? I'm not gonna like say that until we're actually there, which we will be soon. But it's just like a cop out to say we're gonna get there eventually. Don't worry about it now. No, we worry about it now, right? And I don't know what's kind of like aisle that you kind of like sit on when it comes to proof of work. Whether you think it's massively wasteful or whether you think it actually helps bring us towards renewable energy, or it harnesses trapped energy. That's not the debate that I want to get into. What I just wanted to bring attention to was that this narrative is very powerful right now. On their original tweet, which they've since deleted, the ArtStation tweet announcing this kind of proof of concept, there was 900 quote retweets, and pretty much all of them were people in the artist community basically saying that that ArtStation has made a massive mistake. They're betraying their kind of users. This is disgusting because proof of work is like, climate terrorism and all this sort of stuff. And it was just absolutely insane reading through this, and the replies on their original tweet as well. I didn't realize how far this narrative has gone with proof of work energy use, because I actually think the takes about NFTs are kind of quite uninformed, because if we look at why proof of work uses, so much electricity and has such a large carbon footprint, it is actually directly tied to the price of the asset that's being mined. So take ETH, for example, or Ethereum, for example. The ETH price going up, right, and the fees going up, of course, as well, right, will make more hash power come online, more miners come online. That increases Ethereum's kind of footprint there. But NFT minting and transactions on their own is not going to do this, right? Because that block would have been mined. If it didn't have any NFT stuff in there, it still would have been mined using the same amount of electricity. Now, there are arguments to be made that the increased activity on the Ethereum network from NFTs, right, from DeFi, from everything else, increases ETH's price, increases the fees paid on Ethereum, which in turn makes more miners come online and increases Ethereum's carbon footprint. But to me, that's kind of like a bit of a stretch argument. It does make sense, but I just think that a lot of people right now are kind of uninformed on this topic outside of the crypto ecosystem. And that is what I kind of like felt was really sad. And in the end, ArtStation kind of caved to this kind of, I guess, like criticism, and said that they're going to not be doing NFTs at the moment. So if I had to pick one thing that may threaten these networks from a regulatory standpoint, it is definitely the energy use of proof of work. As I said, it doesn't matter what aisle you sit on, it doesn't matter what you believe, right? All that matters is what governments believe. Because at the end of the day, if governments kind of say, well, I think this is completely wasteful, they're going to do whatever's in their power to shut this down. Because as you all know, right, climate change is an imminent kind of thing, right? Imminent threat, right? It is something that's here and now. Governments are very focused on it. Politicians win or lose based on kind of climate views as well. That's a major thing that people go to the polls to vote on. So I think this narrative is going to get worse and worse. And I'm very happy that we're going to move to proof of stake on Ethereum, because I think that I don't want Ethereum to be caught up in this drama. Bitcoin can handle that, whatever. I hope that the education is good enough and kind of like penetrates into the non-crypto ecosystem as well once Ethereum merges into proof of stake, because I don't want Ethereum to end up just being bucketed with other networks and basically people saying, well, it's wasting electricity, when it's not under proof of stake, right? Running a staking machine uses the same amount of power as running your home PC. It is not energy intensive. It's not going to materially increase the carbon footprint of the planet like proof of work does. So yeah, and as I said, there are arguments, on the proof of work side as well that have studies that have been done and make sense, but at the same time, I want to see more studies done, especially studies that aren't done by Bitcoin aligned institutions as well. But I'm not someone who will just have like a super strong opinion based on limited data, because that's what I saw from a lot of the people critiquing ArtStation here, is that they have limited data and they had very strong opinions based on this limited data. I think they all read like the same kind of like medium piece from someone who was obviously biased against cryptocurrencies, because they weren't just saying that proof of work was wasteful, but they were also saying that cryptocurrencies don't actually add anything valuable to the world, and crypto networks don't actually add anything valuable to the world, which obviously is untrue, right? So, from that point of view, it was just sad to see those comments, but we'll see how this evolves. I mean, there's a lot of people coming into the NFT ecosystem that don't think this and that actually understand things, but I didn't realize how many people, thought like this. So a narrative to keep an eye on, and I can't wait until the merger happens. I just cannot wait till we get off proof of work for so many reasons. I mean, a major reason being that I think that miners are not aligned with Ethereum's values at all, at least most of them, right? I think, we've seen with 1559 and how they've been openly hostile against it. I can't wait, right? And it's going to happen. I mean, I could say it could happen as early as, Q4 this year, but I doubt it. I think Q1 next year, so January, February, or March in 2022, we could see the merger happen. And what the merger is, for those who don't know, it's basically getting off proof of work entirely, right? Just killing proof of work, and we're a fully proof of stake network, and you still have ETH1 just running on proof of stake in the ETH2 system, and then it just becomes one whole Ethereum. And that to me is going to be the biggest milestone in Ethereum's history. 1559 was obviously big, but it doesn't hold a candle to basically merging ETH1 into ETH2 and finally getting the ETH2 network that we've wanted for quite a while now. So yeah, definitely something to look forward to there. So DCinvestor put out a really great thread here about kind of what's going to happen when Ethereum scales via layer 2. And basically this is just from his view. It is not kind of, I guess, like a kind of like him saying, this is what's going to happen, right? This is definitely what's going to happen. No, this is just his view, and kind of like he kind of backs it up with a lot of good arguments here as well, which I thought was really cool. So I'll link this in the YouTube description. You can go check it out. But basically he runs through what's going to happen, right? You have Optimism launching this month, of course. I've spoken a lot about that. You have, questions about where will Uniswap deploy. They're going to deploy on Optimism, I think. I think SushiSwap's actually going to go and deploy on Arbitrum, from what I've been hearing. And then he goes on to, what's going to happen with like DEX LPs. And then, you scroll. It's quite a long thread. You scroll down here. He talks about ZK rollups, right? The different projects working on ZK rollups like ZK Sync, Loopring Diversify, Immutable X, all that sort of stuff. And then, yeah, I mean, he has a lot of really good nuggets of information in here, and I think that it's a very, very good thread that you should all go read. I'm not going to kind of butcher it and kind of try to summarize it, because you definitely need to read the whole thread to get the full picture here. So definitely go check that out. And I think that's it for today's episode, as I've got nothing left to talk about. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to that channel, give that video a thumbs up, subscribe to the Daily Gwei newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.